Okay, good morning from us. I hope that you enjoyed yesterday. We certainly did, and are looking forward to the second day and to delivering our presentation to start the day. I think it would be, we would be not telling the truth if we were to say we're not a bit nervous standing up here on the stage. When a few weeks ago we were asked to present our project, we said no problem, but then we didn't really realize that it would be the keynote speech. So thanks for that, Horst. This is the first time I'm here, and I thought it would be a small, cozy event. But then we were told we were expecting 400 people, so we fell into panic. I haven't got my signage, but okay, that's between us. But certainly we've got some information here. Push to publish is the subject of our presentation, and Jan and I and the team behind this, we spent, I think we can say, over the last year, we've invested a lot of energy into the publishing project and into the data project at Fischer. And we are very proud to be able to share this with you today. We will do this selflessly. We would like to share this with you and the community, show you what we have done, what we've achieved, and what we still aim to do in terms of central data storage and automating publishing at Fischer. We want to show you how we've implemented this, and we can now say that we can print the catalog pages almost as a side issue. I'm not alone here. I brought Jan Rüger with me. And let me start with the presentation. Jan Rüger. I've been at Fischer for 5.5 years. I started as project owner for the PIM introduction from the IT side. Now, roughly a year ago, I took over the PIM team in the marketing area. Perhaps we could carry out a survey. Who knows Fischer, the ones with the dowels? And who actually buys these products are much more important decisions. So everybody who keeps their hands down will win a prize. But we're known for these products that you can see here on the picture. But of course, we do other things. I'm a business consultant at priint. I've been there for 7 years. I've been involved in Fischer work projects for as long as Jan. I was involved in technical consulting and accompanied the selection, and then through consulting moved into the technical aspects, and now I'm in the technical department at priint. Now that we know that everyone knows Fischer Werk, Jan, tell us something perhaps that we don't know about you. I think most people in the domestic area know the dowels, and as you can see, we have professional applications. These are our screws. This is the right material if you need screws. We have heavy load products. We are involved in everything to do with securing, fastening, cable, ducts, and a very new thing, which is of relevance in our industry. We now have sensor-driven products. So you screw on, for example, onto a roller coaster, and they can monitor themselves. Someone just walks by with a scanning device, and the product can tell us whether they're tight or loose. So imagine this on quite a few are needed for a roller coaster, and this is obviously a subject with a future. And if we look at the bridge collapsing in Dresden, or renovation, repairing damaged concrete, we are involved in that as well. But normally, in a normal household, our dowels are sufficient. But we work on a global basis. We have 30 country companies, our 30 languages, roughly 5,000 employees represented all over the world. If you go to Italy and say you like a product from Fischer, then the chances are high that they will give you a Fischer dowel. So what have we brought with us today? We want to look at the history of the company, starting position, where do we come from, and simply present what implementation plans we have and how this has developed over time, what we've learned, what advantages and benefits we've been able to generate for Fischer. I think Fischer up to date will be interesting because we have various projects planned for the coming months and the coming year, and other things have just been completed, and we want to share all this with you. And then we've left some time for questions. Ralph, Ralph, you told me yesterday you will ask a lot of questions. So the starting position, we've been involved in the project for quite some time now. We started simultaneously. And let's look at the starting situation that we found. I think when we started the project, I was not yet at Fischer. How do we select the providers? What should the future processes look? That was a good starting base for me. But effectively, we had a PIM that was very significantly print-oriented. So all data were in German and English, partly automated in terms of preparing catalog pages. And the process were always such that new products were introduced and all documented, and then at the end we went to the PIM system and said, these are the documents, should have been ready 8 weeks ago. Or work, the data was incomplete, not properly organized. Everybody thought that new titles for each chart. And of course, that gave us cause to start over again and do everything anew. So we decided we needed a new PIS system. We looked for IT specialists. Later in the course of the project, we said, yes, we are going to look for a print solution. And then together with Passionate, we worked throughout the world in terms of how should we organize our data alongside all the implementation data loss. What does that mean? Yes. At the end, the data were put into the PIM system, and then people ask, well, why is it not working? It's all nice if you say you want to print a catalog page with a dowel and a screw, but there is no picture of a dowel with a screw, but we were supposed to deliver last week. So we had to prepare a lot of things. I think that was the core aspect, the reason why we turned the project around. Today, we work on the basis of data first. A lot of pain points and even more objectives that we set ourselves over the course of time. What seen over the long term, what were the main pain points, the most important objectives? From the management perspective, this is bigger, better, faster, more is the aim of the project. But in real terms, we had 30 national countries. They were dependent on their Excel sheets and sending these to a central PIM system. We wanted to be quicker. The national countries had to be punctual. We needed time to market concept, where the time requirement had to be reduced. And we ultimately wanted to automate the print processes and create structures that enable this. Today, we at the headquarters, we have a focus on German and English, but everything is structured so that the national companies can work freely in the PIM, and are no longer dependent on 2 or 3 people at the headquarters having time precisely now, for example, when a product is needed in the Philippines. And so a lot has changed. And from the very start, based on the advice on the previous projects, it was clear that this can only be done if the data is at the focal point, because in the old system, the catalogs were very nice, very easy to print, but we have customers, and our customers need data. Having an nice catalog means nothing And yesterday I talked to one of our customers, and the first thing he asked was, will you send us data? Will we get them in ATIM? Are they up to date? If I send him a catalog, he'd said, okay, thank you very much. Let me know when you've got it. So at the end, this is of relevance in terms of sales. Now, let's look at the time schedule. We get the impression that they've been active for a long time, and that's something I can confirm. This is a project that started a long time ago, and if we look at the more recent past, we can see that starting with the PIM introduction and selection process, we can see that things have multiplied into the channels. So along this time span, what was the most intensive phase? Why? And how did we solve the problem of actually overcoming this mounting? I think we solved it by meeting and knocking hell out of each other. It wasn't easy. Okay, today everything is great, printing thousands of catalog pages at the press of a button, but there were difficult phases along the way. Very helpful was the fact that we'd had a previous project where the company had looked at how do we want to act in the future, and it had a clear vision of the fact that it would be a long project. In 2018, we had the pre-press project. I joined Fischer at 29. We selected the processes and the systems. And we said, okay, the processes won't work 100% at start, so we had to discuss again. Then we set up the system structure, and then we were able to change the procedure and said we don't want to have the catalog first, but the aim is to enable our national companies. So we commissioned the system for the digital sphere for the websites. Then we selected a publishing system, and then we moved towards the implementation of catalogs. And as is normal in print processes, print projects are difficult, especially to get to a situation where at the end of the day you have everything as you wish, and you don't have, for example, to move a picture 2 or 3 centimeters to the left. And the plan was that in 2021 we would complete our central catalog and then switch to the price list. But that didn't quite work, because we had to do the price list, because if they were not available in November to the customers, then it would be no good. So we capped the project, produced a price list, and then took care of the catalogs. And in 2022, we are reorganizing all the divisional catalogs. We need roughly, you will say, why do you need 2 years for a catalog? But you have to imagine 2,500 pages of catalogs, and you're starting from scratch. And the decisive factors, you can see this gray bar where we see parallel operation. And during this system, the old system for catalog generation was continuing to run, and the task was keep the data synchronized in both systems. It worked to a certain extent. And then we said, okay, we produced a new catalog. We delivered to the colleagues. They looked at it and said, well, are you crazy? It's wrong. Here is a catalog which is right. Why do I get a catalog from the new system that is not correct? And then we had a long phase where step by step we implemented all the new catalogs, always bearing in mind that we have our day-to-day business. Our colleagues were not getting bored. This long phase, 22, 23, up until 2024, was a phase where we implemented the catalogs in German and English, updated them all, revised them all. And now let's come to the fun bits. We've got our data under control. That was a major challenge. And now we're seeing the benefits where we say, if we do something new today, then think it works quickly because everything has been sorted. Fischer, if you look at the internet site of Fischer under the service, you can find the catalog to download. But you will find technical data charts in the catalogs, and I know ultimately that this was a problem, just one of many problems along the passage for these catalogs, because the templates, the workflow for the templates for the technical charts was also very high. It's a very difficult and strenuous phrase, but ultimately, given perseverance and tolerating a lot of frustration, we had to change priorities. We were able to do this, and ultimately we prepared the price list and then completed the catalog afterwards. So let's look at the operative procedures. Here we have two subjects that we want to talk about that were relatively important over the course of the project. One note from me, layout harmonization. I found this very enjoyable, which was done with your graphics department. That was very, very important, and I would recommend that to anybody in a similar situation. Involve your graphics department, and so you have the technical feasibility and graphic requirements. Obviously, they have to match, but at the end, you will harmonize many differing layouts that had previously been present, and I think that worked very well. Another important aspect that we tried to bear in mind was best practice approaches to implement these and to place our faith in the standards of the tools, and not least standards from Print Suite or InDesign. And at this point, an example on text flow before and after, I think that's something that saved us time. Preparing it all will save us time. It will save time in developing the templates, and I think looks very attractive. I think there are lots of things where if the graphic designer sits down and does something, because of course for him it's not relevant, the contents are not relevant, but for technicals it is important. But then the question comes up, why did you do this? The reason, well, I can't use InDesign, I'm not capable, but I can't do this. So what do you do in normal cases? And Nico or Carsten or Patrick says, the standard works like this, and we said standard is great. And okay, a personal objective, as little InDesign as possible. You can see in the overviews, you can see some results from these work passages in terms of template preparation. I think the text speaks for itself. We have two essential table layouts with variable layouts, and that means that then we've included a lot of logic into the templates which react to the data from PIM. And we have enabled different layout variants. I think we have to mention in the way the company Fischer works, we had a good relationship with the product managers, with the graphic departments, and then we were able to go to the project managers and say, can we perhaps adapt your pages go a little bit? And the project manager says, okay, if we save money, yeah, okay, money saved is money earned. 2,500 DIN catalog pages means all catalogs that you produce, the main catalog plus the individual divisional catalogs, 10 of those, which range between 780 pages. They are bilingual, and I hope in future they will be available in more languages. We will be able to roll this out for all the national companies, produce on a central basis, because then the investment is more fun, because I can produce Italian, Czech, whatever, at the press of a button using the logic. But so for the IT, that's not a problem. At the beginning, We talked about how you succeeded in 180-degree turnaround, and how data first, getting data into the PIM, centralizing them, processing them, and handing over responsibility to the persons who are ultimately responsible. And just to ensure that what ultimately flows into the print catalogs is what we want to show. But let's show us the everyday work of a user.
Well, it really depends on who you are, how easy it is. The central point was really saying, well, in future, each product process starts in PIM. Nobody can actually post or upload a product without entering it to PIM first. After the marketing briefing 3 days later, we talk about it. Where does it have to go? Which data is needed? Accordingly, the left side of this chart is of central relevance. We have a very clear definition for each product, the technical data we need, and we also know what should be featured in the catalog. And we first discuss whether this is the correct data. We not only consider what should be in the catalog or in the catalog, but also what item needs. The colleague will no longer arrive at the chart saying, well, I would like this table to be included. No, we say, I want this data from you, and then we define what ends up in the catalog. Then the text editing. This is workflow controlled in one central instance in our catalog. Of course, we can handle our own print copies, but this is rather the exclusion than the rule. Then the third stage, this is what we manage in our team. We build the output structure, then link it with the pod structure. So what is the corresponding place for the text, and define through structural group features or characteristics. In German, you are the technical table, you are product data page, and this data should be imported. And this editing, this management requires a certain degree of abstraction. My colleagues who used to be designers, they went mad initially. I have to see what's happening there. No, you don't have to. You simply push a button. And this is what they're doing now. Then we'll actually link it with the print suite. And then we say generate. And then the part arrives where I have my caipirinha served and wait for the product to be finished. And this is what it looks like in the end. And as of today, this works. Well, if there's a problem, it's due to the data. You can rest assured some of the data is incorrect. As I said, we produce now that we got everything sorted out and all of the technical data was completely revised for all of our products. This is now really working at the push of a button. Well, new product category, half an hour, and you've got the catalog pages ready for this new category. We initially talked about many objectives and targets. How do you view and rate the project and the results? Because I'm the project owner, great, just great. No, just kidding. Well, as I mentioned before, it was not as fast as I would have liked it to, but we've achieved the aim that was important to me. We have now revised all of our data. All of the data comes from the PIM, and we can produce fully automated. As I told you, I'm not familiar with InDesign, so we can really manage it in such a way that the PIM source data can be used and built into the catalog. What else do we do with the catalog? At times, there are product images where the scale isn't nice, 2 in 1 chapter. Yeah, but then in InDesign, you simply would actually scale down one of the images so it looks nice. Yes, I could also store a separate image, but And in terms of editing, once the data is available, time to market is no longer a problem. The colleagues of Fischer Deutschland in the country subsidiaries no longer have to wait. They get an information 3 months before it should be ready. They translate it, and with a lower workload, we produce a higher output. And this is really decisive, because nobody can afford the way we used to produce catalogs in the past. We still had the budgets and the time, but this is no longer available to invest it in the catalogs. And this works fine because we also have to manage more and more data, especially against the backdrop that we also need various translations, and we will talk about this a minute later. One last chart about the takeaways and learnings. Apart from the technical requirements and challenges that we have lived up to, what would you say, what was helpful to make this project a success? What helped you? In actual fact, the pre-project helped a lot, because with this we obtained the management commitment. They knew this will not be finished in 12 months from now. It'll take 2 to 3 years, and we had the budget. There was nobody after 9 months saying, where's the output? No, we're still working on the data. We're still revising data, to be perfectly honest. And from the outset, we had the confidence of the management in the team, knowing what they were doing, because along the way, there were many frills basically cut off that had developed over time. My favorite anecdote is that we had 2 Germans, one German for Germany and one for Fischerwerke Germany, and we said no more. And they explained they had to have it. And I said to the manager, well, do away with it. And he said, okay, do away with it. This, of course, helped to actually shorten many complex processes. And we also learned if we manage our data properly, then the results, the outcomes are correct. And if we manage the processes, then we will actually also manage it time-wise. PIM is no longer the stumbling block. Nobody thought about the data being submitted 2 or 3 months too late. It was also helpful that I was not part of the marketing team at that point in time. Mr. Rüger decided so. He was in the he's in the IT department, and the marketing people were out of the discussion. And perseverance, and being tolerant to its frustration. Because nobody will approach you saying, well, your data and the system are so beautiful. I've always waited for this to happen. No, most of the time, you're just working by yourself. Nobody recognizes you for what you're doing. But I think, and the usual things are there in the chart, a little pointer. I've learned a lot at this point that it always helps to ask other people, how do you do it at the site? Because I couldn't have known. And to just listen to other people, how they do it. At times you find fantastic avenues, and you can get out the discussion whether you actually turn a little more left or turn a little more right, but you opt for a completely new avenue instead. Well, where do we currently stand? We've achieved quite a bit over the past few months, and especially looking at the production of the catalogs. I know, Jan, that you are looking in the PIM for translations. As far as I've listened to the colleagues, you've already implemented part of this with Gen AI, using Gen AI for text translations. And this, of course, also bans the print channels. One project that was included in the first prototype was the topic of the technical line drawings. Here we work with the Illustrator plugin and Illustrator. and the associated plugin to use your existing line drawings and connect it or attach the article-specific data. This hadn't been available so far. And this was a smooth process, wasn't it? I would have expected more hiccups, but I think this was finished even before time. How many line drawings have you produced so far? As I said, now comes the fun part. We really manage our data well. I heard about the Illustrator plugin, and whoever has bought technical products, when you look at the clamp and you see D and M, and why don't you write it? Why don't you attach it to the drawing? The problem is we have 10 to 12,000. And if you actually if it takes you 5 minutes to do so, and you assign 2 people to this job, then it takes years. Today, we do it in passing because the line drawing exists anyway. Then we use the Illustrator plugin, say, please etch this attribute behind this attribute behind this attribute, produce it in an automated fashion. And then, of course, you have to take a quick copy and then actually throw it into the PIM. Then these files are automatically linked. I think we did the first 1,000 in passing in 1 week or so. And we're now showing them on our website as well. So if you wait for another 2 weeks and you actually want to look at a Fischer clamp, you click on it, and then you will see all of the dimensions in the drawing. This is not a revolution, but it was great for our image. All of a sudden, the sales managers and the product managers look at it and say, well, I've been waiting for this. It looks great. And we tell them it wasn't that difficult. And why did we do this? Because we are in the process of automating our product packaging and labeling. On the top, you can also see the line drawings today. Actually imports the data from an Excel spreadsheet in InDesign and links them with data from the PIM system. So somebody has entered them twice in a spreadsheet. And the line drawings finally end up on the packaging. Now we get more and more touch points, and with the data we can actually update processes and do outputs that used to be a pain in the ass. And this is what we're currently looking at. Besides all of the issues such as the digital passport, the new construction material ordinance regarding sustainability, etc. Of course, Gen AI is always a thing for we started with it with translation texts. We have the technical data, we can manage the translations as well, but how do I put together this AI text? Well, this is what we're going to look at over the next few months. I think yesterday you talked about the Swiss knife in the keynote. I think in the catalog production we're working with the print plumber, and we use the Illustrator for the line drawings and the plugin, and for the packaging we will use the print adjust plugin, also in InDesign, and so we use the complete portfolio provided by Werk 2, the print suite. And I think this is going to be a wonderful journey. I look forward to the first results because we want to have a the first part for the packaging. That's going to be an exciting trip. And I'm very positive looking at the current state of project affairs. Yeah, I can think of 5 other things, but I'm not allowed to talk about them. Yeah, that's for next year, or the year after, rather. With this, we've almost reached the end. A few last words on Parsonate. Well, what can we say? We're a part of Accenture now. Some already know we're undergoing the integration right now. Our focus is data. We love data management, data analytics, and database publishing. We have over 230 experts headquartered in Stuttgart, but we also have branch outlets in Germany and the Netherlands. And through the integration with Accenture, we will, of course, be built into a bigger infrastructure, but will also look after the things that are of relevance to us in future and look forward to exciting projects. And this means we're done. But before we take your questions, I promised Horst. Horst yesterday during the award presentation said that I had provided a nice cliffhanger. It doesn't provide for many quotes or scenes or cliffhangers. Question: who was the double for Sylvester Stallone in Cliffhanger? A German? No. Comment off the mic. Reinhold Messner? No. Yeah. This is unnecessary knowledge. Wolfgang Güllich from Palatinate, Ludwigshafen. He was the world best free climber and actually pioneered many new routes. So unfortunately, he passed away during a traffic accident. But in the opening scene, he says, "Where are you? I'm just hanging about there." This is him. Questions, please. Are there any questions? My question: how do you check the completeness of data for such a production, text, technical data, etc.? Well, very simple. We embedded this into Informatica, and we have 1,200 checking rules. So each newly introduced product runs through this routine. So the system checks automatically whether the text is there, and if the text is not there yet, the next stage is not released. In reality, we pre-produce everything. So, but we do not output anything before it has not passed this checking instance. And the product manager then decides this is the right image I want to see there. We can only check whether there is an image available. Whether it's the correct one needs to be decided by the product manager. My question would be, with print, space is usually limited. This is a huge problem. And when you use Gen AI to do translations, how do you proceed to actually fit it into the available space? Because in the other language version, it's longer. Well, technically speaking, the subsidiaries, the local subsidiaries, do the translations to check on the correctness, to do the proofreading. As soon as we start producing print and find that the text is still too long, then the production actually interrupts. We talk to the subsidiary abroad and then actually create a shorter text version so that it fits the space. This cannot be automated, because if I have 8 items, then I cannot actually cut one off. You would think that you cut off the last 3 ones. No, of course you don't. It doesn't work this way. And for names and widths, theoretically, we can actually control each column width separately for each language, because German version, Chinese, or Portuguese, and this is there where we can actually control it specific to the language. I have 2 questions. How big was the PIM team, and did they have to edit all of the data, or did they only edit specific data and some other colleagues were actually also brought in? Before we changed over, the complete management or editing was done by 3 or 4 PIM specialists who also did some graphic design, the line drawings, for instance. This was also done by the PIM team. Today it's 4 plus myself. And but we have shifted the processes. The product manager and the person responsible for marketing now manage in PIM. Our role has changed fundamentally. We're focused more on process control, quality assurance, and support, because the product manager approaches us and says, well, I have a spreadsheet with the data. Well, send it to us, we'll import it. And this is why, with a team of 4, to be realistically speaking, we edit everything that has been added on top since. Second question was, you alluded to the fact that you actually manage the data in German and then hand it over to the subsidiaries. And do they all actually have access to the print suite for the translations? No, no. What the national subsidiaries translate is the texts. The technical data, there is a translation mechanism. So the national subsidiary also only has to look at this once. So the technical data is always available in all of the languages. The national subsidiaries translate the text one-on-one, the way they like it, with the support of a translation module. And the production process for the national subsidiaries looks like this. The output structure is managed locally, is managed centrally, and localization is done locally for a Dutch or a Czech catalog. We will do all of the coordination, but if the national subsidiaries have to adapt texts, then they would actually do this themselves in PIM. Question, ERP, what's the role of ERP? The Genesis process was mentioned. Is all data generated in PIM? Well, we actually separate very clearly. ERP is we actually bring them to PIM, but only let them flow through PIM statistical sales data, because we need it for exports to customers, but they're not actually edited there or managed. There is no article that's not generated in ERP. So SAP sends the master records every hour. They're automatically processed in the PIM. Then we actually edit the data. I've seen a new item. Why don't I know about this? And this is how it works. And at times we find out this was only done for a single project, and don't you worry about it. So we're more in the process control role than anything else. And for all of the merchandise management, our ERP is in the lead, whereas for the technical data, PIM is, of course, in the lead. And there's a clear separation between the two. A totally exciting project that you've initiated there. What is the budget that you actually had to account for? Just a magnitude. I actually don't know. I really don't know. I don't have it on my radar, but we can talk about it later. I'm very open, but if I share this here today, then I'll probably give a wrong number, because this is recorded. So no, bilaterally I can tell you. Yes. By the way, you can bribe me with a coffee, and it's even for free. And Nico can also be bribed. And we'll stay around for the rest of the day. I do have a question. For many companies, they focus very much on cost cutting. So the question is, do I really need a catalog? And if, in which form? You have certainly not done this project for nothing. Did you have these strategic considerations before you initiated the project? Well, we constantly consider the costs. We're discussing the printing costs. Circulations constantly go down. We have a target group of dealers where we do not print 100,000. I just need 2,000 catalogs per 700 pages, and each catalog costs a lot of money. But regardless of this, we always want to have the catalog at least as a PDF file. And this is why we have a clear separation. We do the things, whether it's actually printed is a different story, a decision by the marketing guys. And we currently discuss, let us split up the catalogs to end up with real category catalogs, where we can decide, well, I do this every year because it's fastening systems and there are new items every year. But when we talk about nailed clamps, you don't have to do this every single year. So the catalogs are smaller and more current and more achievable or affordable. Yeah, right now we print everything. Yeah. It's less of a question. I would like to thank you for the insights in general, and specifically that you mentioned that a design team should be brought on board at an early stage. This is really good and important. Question regarding the technical drawings, because this sounds so familiar. What is the workflow there? Do you have a fully automatic solution now? Somebody managing the dimensions? Is there an automated process that actually sends back the drawings to the PIM to the right products, or is there still manual work involved? No, the drawing and everything in the drawing is already included or was predefined with the technical data for delivery. And at the point of time the drawing has been released, the data is also available. And then this is a partially automated process because you have to assign the right attribute. Length L could be this or that attribute. And then, of course, you need the PM release. But this link only takes a few minutes. Then you have the right fit, takes a while, and the automation takes a minute or so. At the same time we do the AIs and the PDFs, the product manager has a final look, are the drawings all correct? Then he actually ticks it off, and then we started with Illustrator, post it to the PIM folder, and then the rest of the process is automatic. You could do it fully automatically, but this would actually require a lot more control efforts. And this little human control aspect involved gives you a better quality. And the effort is less. My question, do you use the cloud version or the on-premise PIM? 10.5 version, 003 is the version on-premise. Do you plan to go to the cloud? Well, on Thursday, we will hear a lot of new things, and this is a decision to be taken next year. Next year, we will actually decide on how to proceed, because as of today, we were doing in-house with the 10.05 version, which is great for the graphic artists because through VPN, the Azure, now it goes down to the seller and working overnight. It's so much more pleasant to work with. Other questions? Talking about digital PDFs, which extent of interactivity do you have in the catalog? No, none. As I said, I have a few more ideas what you could do or would have to do. If I only have PDFs online in future, downloading a PDF and browsing the PDF is not so exciting, but it's a nice overview. I would like to have a fully automated technical data sheet for each item, whether it's the sales, writing a quote, or whether it's a customer for project documentation. He would then just have to embed this in his product presentation. There's a host of ideas, but there's a lack of budget.